Today, the global warming presentation today.
I guess, right? Climate change. But this, I believe, this was supposed to be last month, no?
I think that was the goal, and then they
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I just got the notification on YouTube. I guess we're live on there. Okay.
Okay, we just need to use the bathrooms. And we can start. The presenter here already.
We have Pauline.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's only.
Not like
that's
that's
right
it,
now?
because we do appreciate Pauline, but
Yeah. Yeah, I need to find like a running community uptown. I've only ran with Adidas. I usually just run with Adidas, but I'm like, I need to do this uptown because just say the yucky. I'm like, what am I doing running downtown all over?
Hello.
I could be uptown.
Hello, we every Thursday, all year round, 52 weeks a year. Rain or shine, middle, and we have a walking group as well, so you could rehabilitate like your knee with us. It's all
Every Thursday. And
free.
how do you guys do it? Like during seasons, y'all do longer runs? What do y'all run by?
No, so this is our premier community program. It's only a 5K, so 3 miles. So 3 miles every week, and then it's typically like 2 miles for the walkers, and that's it. And then we do different routes around the neighborhood. We meet on Dyckman and Broadway, across right in front of Analoftis Park, and every Thursday you should check it out. You're gonna love it. We have somebody who they come in one time and they've known her for years, and it's such a great group. And it's it's all different types, very diverse, very robust. And then once during the marathon, the energy, we have 34 runners registered. Yes, we have a big turnout, and it's yeah, you should definitely check it out. And there's other individuals, like one of my close friends, he works for Mount Sinai. He had surgery on his knee. So there's other individuals that that have been similar experiences, so they can also, they can kind of network a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Five of us here, right? Okay. Okay, you left me a voicemail, I think. Okay, so Steve will be about 15-20 minutes late. So
Environment? Health and Environment Committee or Housing and
Human Services.
and Human Services?
whichever one you want.
Well, I'll tell you to stay
Yeah.
here, but you can also, I think, go, between.
Yeah, you can look,
Wow.
check out the agenda if you want to see it. The agenda.
Oh, yeah, take a look at our.
Tell me which one's cooler. Okay.
I mean, we're always gonna say this
Absolutely
one,
cooler.
100%. And today we have a presentation.
Environment.
Climate
This is
change.
health and environment.
Yeah.
You don't
really
do
good.
park stuff, right? I have a park.
No, Parks has its own committee.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's not tonight. The only
It's
ones that are
not tonight.
tonight is this one and Housing and Human Services. If you can, sign in right here, please.
Hey, Jody.
Hi, Jody.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry.
You guys online, can you hear us?
Oh.
And somebody say, okay,
Yes, we can.
okay, thank you so much, because yesterday we had some issues. Okay. All right.
Yeah, no.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Osi Kaminer. I'm the assistant chair. Steve is running a little late. And we have a quorum, so we can start. And our first item on the agenda is the presenter here. Dr. Robbie Parks.
Hi.
You're here?
Hi,
Sorry, I
yeah,
don't-
how's it going? Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, I can put public on.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so you can go ahead and start your presentation. The presentation is, I'm sorry, I should. The negative impact of climate change on our community. Please go ahead, you can start.
Well, thank you so much, and I will just try and share my screen, and am I allowed to do that? Let's see.
I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
Oh, no, you should be able to do that.
Yeah,
it says it's disabled, but I'll try again.
Aussie, please make him co-host because I transferred the hosting to you.
hold on a second.
Jacob, can you help her?
Okay,
You got it?
go ahead, try again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Are you able to see?
Yes,
Okay, so I will go ahead and start. I'm going to probably talk about 10, 15 minutes, if that's okay.
okay.
Or,
we want-
or short. I can be shorter if you like.
No, oh, well, not too short, but we would like to leave some time for questions. So you can go
So-
ahead, yeah,
Roughly what kind of time? Like just if you tell me, I can adapt.
well, if you can keep the presentation for 15 minutes, and then we can have maybe, is that doable?
Perfect.
Great.
Okay, so just as an introduction, hi, I'm Robbie Parks, and I'm an assistant professor at the Environmental Health Science Department of the Mailman School of Public Health at Columbia University. So that's just on 168th. So it's really nice, and thank you again for your invitation to speak. So what I'll broadly do really is just talk about a little bit of what I do, but also I'm going to pivot quite quickly into work that I'd like to partner with interested members of the community in Northern Manhattan with regards to climate and sort of housing justice project that I've got going with many partners. So I'll just go through now. So just, you might be wondering who I am. So, I have a research sort of agenda that is really focused on climate change and health. And so I would say I would try to uncover the hidden burdens of climate-related exposures on health, including how health is impacted, who's impacted the most, and what needs to be done for positive change. And so my work is probably relevant to these kind of broad strokes, if you like. Climate and health, mental and behavioral health, and environmental justice and urban health. And so I'm also, a first generation academic, and I'm come from the UK. I'm from a sort of joint background. My mum's Filipina and my dad's Scottish, and so I just wanted to highlight agents of change in environmental justice, which I just did a fellowship on. It's really nice work that I got to do, and if you're interested about sort of a little bit of my personal world mixed with my professional world, visiting the UN climate conference in Egypt last year, and I'll be going again in Dubai. Happy to answer some questions on that, but I really enjoyed writing this personal essay that if anyone's interested, it might sort of explain me a little bit more. But and also, just to give, this is going to be sort of largely non-scientific sort of talk, but just as sort of corollaries to that output, I've recently been on Science Friday. This has been COP27, and I work a lot with popular press, and this was based on a recent study from the Weather Channel, based on my study, which revealed, estimates that largely areas with high minority or minoritized populations are where the hurricane deaths in recent decades have been concentrated by far the most. And so you might be interested in, this is just a sort of highlight of where deaths have been the most in the past few decades for hurricanes. And you'll see here Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Sandy, which I'm sure many of you will remember, and then Hurricane Irma. And so that's just a little flavor. That's probably like as sciencey as I'll probably get in this talk. But I do really want to talk about a project I've got going on right now. And just to as a general overview, climate change manifests in many different ways. So we've got ways in which our health is impacted by when it's too hot, but also when it floods, and when there's a hurricane, and when there's a drought, and we're all affected in different ways. And of course, the most vulnerable in our society are impacted the most and exposed the most, as I'm sure we all are very aware. So places where there's fewer trees gets hotter, and places where there's fewer trees also is where there's less public investment in general over time in infrastructure. And so all of those factors come together to really have a huge burden on the poorest and most vulnerable in the city, in the country, and worldwide. So this is just a sort of overview of that. But in New York City itself, really just need to look at the headlines and look into our memories of this summer, the last few summers. We've really had some record temperatures, especially in the summer, but also all year round. Even last Saturday was really, really unseasonably warm, and that's not really random. That's just to do with long-term changes in our climate based on both human activity and variation to do with things like El Nino, large-scale planetary temporary shifts too. But and human-made climate change plays a huge role in why we're seeing these very high temperatures. Now, I just wanted to show a map of New York City because, of course, not everyone in New York City is as vulnerable to, say, that extreme heat as everyone else. And you see this map, you're very familiar with the 5 boroughs. And you see really where, Washington Heights and Northern Manhattan, where, where I work and where you are, and the South Bronx in particular, the darkest, it's the highest heat vulnerability. Now, I won't necessarily go into how that's calculated, but really what it means is where areas are darker, people are less resilient for all sorts of reasons to do with infrastructural, societal disadvantages. And that sort of segues really, into, let's think about heat and where people like to spend hot days. Now, I don't know about you, but when I find it, there's a hot day, a really hot day, if it's nice and warm, I like to spend it outside. But if it's too warm, I actually like to spend it at home where it's cool. And generally, that's really how people like to do that. This is based on the study that I led with a master's student surveying people in Northern Manhattan, partnering with We Act for Environmental Justice. And this was focused on COVID years, but more people in general were staying at home, as you'll see in the middle, in 2021 and 2020 compared with previous years. So COVID in some ways was a double whammy of if you had to spend time at home, but you didn't have cooling mechanisms such as air conditioning, then you were in trouble, because indoor temperatures can get really hot. But we don't really know how hot indoors get. We have very good data on outdoor temperatures, sometimes reaching over triple digits in Fahrenheit in New York City, especially in such a summer as we've just had. But people spending time indoors without air conditioning, people who are particularly vulnerable, climate change getting worse, getting warmer, what's going to happen? Electricity costs are getting much higher. In recent years, I'm sure we've all noticed our bills going up in some ways, and air conditioning is generally the way we cool if we can, and that's powered by electricity. Whereas in the winter months, generally a lot of New York City is heated by gas. So we are all individually responsible for our electricity bills, and so how we manage to cool, even if we have cooling in our homes, I'm sure many people are deciding every day whether it's an affordable option in the summer. And that's not distributed evenly, just based on this recent survey that we did, how people identify in terms of their race and ethnicity, that there is a difference in how common, how prevalent AC, for example, is as an average across different communities. And so, it's probably no surprise that people who identify as white have generally more means, and that's due to historic racism as much as anything. And so there's a racial element to this too, and an environmental justice element to this too. And so that goes to sort of this kind of project where this is a lot of text, but really what we're trying to do is fill in the data gap and work with yourselves and other members of the community to try and monitor what's going on in indoor temperatures over the incoming cold season, but right through to the hot season. Now, why is that important? Well, of course, in the cold season, there's actually laws for indoor temperatures for how cold it can get, and so we can call 311. Whether or not 311 is actually successful or not, that's another question. But in terms of violations in the winter, that's actually enshrined in law. That's in the heat season. In the summer, that's actually different. And so people we need data to drive policy to try and understand how hot it gets indoors, and that really is trying to identify how we first of all get people able to cool at home with dignity, rather than having to cool themselves in ways that they would rather not, like leaving their homes. Typically, people want to stay at home if it's very hot, and they want to keep cool. But also, we don't really know how hot it is at home, and so if it's 100 degrees outside, there's a very real chance it could be near 100 degrees inside, and some elementary preliminary data kind of shows that. Just to give an overview of the team, it's a whole bunch of really cool, I like to think, researchers and organizations. This particular project is partnered with HeatSeek, which is an organization focused on heat justice in the winter, but we're kind of focused on the summer. So we've kind of pivoted to focus there, and Columbia, and also a couple of other collaborators at UC San Diego, as you can see here. And we've got this great bunch of students we just recruited. And so what does that, why is this relevant to why am I talking to you, I suppose? Well, we're looking for participants, really. So as let's say we're supervising master's students at Columbia to make outreach to try and find participants who are willing to have 2 small sensors in their bedroom and living room, and that will passively monitor temperature throughout the winter and through to the summer, to the end of summer 2024. And we're looking particularly for communities in northern Manhattan and the South Bronx, we're looking for around 100 participants because this is a small pilot project that we're hoping to expand. And why is this important? Like I said again, we don't really know how hot it gets indoors in general. I mean, people do have individual records of how hot it gets, but the more we could do this at scale from a research perspective, the more leverage and understanding we can have, such that we can talk about how important it is to have equitable cooling mechanisms in general in the age of climate change. And so we're really looking for participants, and I would encourage you to be in touch with us and with me and with all my sort of research partners and master students if you're interested, because there isn't much to do. There's a small compensation, and really you'll be able to track the temperature as well live, such that you can, for example, what heat seek do in the winter is people track their own cold temperatures, and then they're able to say whether it's actually below what it should be, 68 Fahrenheit in general, and if it is, that they're actually able to call 311, for example. But in the winter, if you're interested, it's actually going to be a real active way that you're going to be able to track how hot it is inside, and so the community owns this data, so we're going to data ownership is very important to us. The data that's recorded in participants' homes remains owned by the community, and we will report in a way that isn't just in the past maybe you didn't get much news about your data, but we work with the community organizing core at Columbia now that would report back exactly what we found to participants in a way that is meaningful for policy change. And so how would that work? Well, if people are interested, then they would email or let me know now, and then student participants would deliver monitors over the next few weeks. And that's really it. And there'll be a survey at the end of the season to sort of see how the season had an impact on health, and that won't take very long. It'll take maybe 15 minutes. So that's it really. That's what I wanted to talk about. And then please take note of my details, and I'd really love to hear from you, and I'd really love to hear your thoughts right now about the project. And if you have any questions, very happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I'm curious about how you're going to, when you, in your project, when you're putting sensors in people's apartments, how you're going, are you also indicating what kind of building the apartment is?
Exactly.
Okay, and I'll give you an example. I live in a 5-building co-op. Those are individual buildings that are not attached. Okay, so and we do have 12 sensors per building. That's related to 2013 local law. I think it was 87 back then, when we had to retrofit, move to number 2 oil. So in order to make the boilers more efficient, we part of the program was to have sensors in every apartment. So it's not just the outdoor sensors that calling for heat. The outdoor is speaking to the indoor sensors, and only then they determine if heat has to come on. So I wonder if you're looking, so are you, aside of the actual temperature that you're looking into in terms of what is the indoor temperatures, are you also going to give recommendations in terms of what type of, well, that's building specific, but I'm just curious if there will be any recommendations in general from, it could be a heating system kind of recommendations to plant more trees outside your windows and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Thank you for your question. In terms of solutions, of course, all the research that we're doing in public health should have a solutions base and an ultimate result. In terms of what we're trying to do, we're really focused on the lack of data about understanding what's going on indoors with high temperatures in particular. And that is kind of, as collectively, trying to add, an argument for policy, because there's a lot of policy talk about maximum temperature in New York City for a local law, for example, and how exactly that happens is with data and stories. So stories of people being too hot, but also having large scale data about what is going on indoors, of which we really don't have any data. And so there are, solutions that you mentioned, both short to long term. We are going to record the building structure and type, and of course the demographic details of participants. But it really is just sort of a large scale effort to try and understand the profile of indoor temperature to try and change policy. That's the focus.
And I would like to welcome our chair, Steve Simon.
I am sorry I'm so late. I'll have to catch up and watch the video to see what I missed. But it sounds like you were just discussing the initiative that you're also presenting to our Housing and Human Services Committee tonight. Have you already spoken to them?
I have not. No, this is
okay.
The first,
so when you're done with us, you're going to call into that other meeting. Is that correct?
I will do that, exactly. Thank you.
Okay. You were sent the link for that meeting as well?
That's correct. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. Very good.
So yeah, really, it's just sort of I'd love to keep in touch and have some of our students visit and talk with anyone interested if they're still thinking, oh, this is interesting, but I still need more information. I would love to be able to talk to you, and if you think there are good or bad buildings that are particularly bad for this, that you would like to identify, that because we're trying to recruit by classic kind of shoe leather recruitment as well, by just visiting and trying to understand if particular members and residents of buildings want to be involved too. So I'd love any recommendations via my email and being in touch. That would be great.
I think that one of the issues we have I don't know if it's district specific or you already, saw that throughout New York City, that a lot of buildings going back to 2013, when we had to retrofit and do some emission reduction in our buildings, a lot of buildings moved from number 6 heating oil to number 4. And didn't do the leap to number 2, even though the expense is really minimal. So since number 4 oil is only going to be phased out in 2030, there's many buildings that are still running on number 4 oil, which is a major contributor to obviously climate change and also air pollutants. So I would like to see, and when you get to your finals and recommendations, I think it will be very beneficial for everyone throughout New York City to move away, to have a recommendation to move away from number 4 oil, heating oil, to number 2 right away. It's a very small retrofit, and it's very inexpensive. So I think there was some planning to do that number of years ago, but it didn't pass through the New York City Council, as far as I remember. But I'm just putting it out there. It's something that can be addressed right away, definitely before 23. Yeah. So
I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Comment?
Yeah. I have a quick question. You mentioned that the point of this is to eventually figure out ways or just to find equitable cooling mechanisms. Can you talk a little bit more about what that could be or what that would look like? I'm just curious to understand.
For example, thank you for your question. So, in terms of what happened in summer 2020 and 2021, I'm not sure if it happened in the past few years. There was a Get Cool campaign where the city delivered AC units to people who are 65 and over, and there was a list, but obviously that list wasn't complete necessarily. But then the city paid for the installation, but then not the electricity, for example. And so what we found with other research is that people weren't necessarily using the AC units. And so that kind of scheme obviously focused on the most vulnerable people in our society, of course, who deserve this kind of cooling the most because they're maybe least able to leave and most vulnerable to higher temperatures. The idea that they should have AC units, I think, is sort of smart, but then how that's paid for, I think, is then another issue which I think needs to be thought out in a well thought out policy, because people dying from heat related deaths is going up every year, and particularly for actually the oldest of us being the most vulnerable in general.
Thank you
So
for that.
that's where I'd focus. I'd focus on how we pay for the AC.
Got it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was a missing factor with that program. And it's particularly troubling to hear that people were given the free air conditioners and then aren't even using them. So something has to be done to remedy that. Okay, I'm assuming you're Claudia?
How do you know that? Oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. That's me.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what, just like talking to people in the neighborhood, it seems there's a lot of differences in people that are tenants that are not homeowners in terms of like the management of the building.
Yes.
So I think that that's actually a big issue. It's a big issue in my building. So I think that's why I'm raising it. Like transparency or like repairs or I mean, even something like installing the AC, like let's say one of the rooms, the outlet doesn't work and the super didn't fix it. So the building management dysfunction or like lack of communication, it can be like a really key breakdown point.
Absolutely.
And then also like type of housing, if you're looking at like NYCHA or like rent stabilized or other types of housing. I don't know if you already took that into account.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I thought you'd finished, but please.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, of course, the most vulnerable generally correlates with people who are paying the least rent and least able to pay rent, and people who don't own. And of course, even very affluent people relatively in the country now who live in New York City don't own too. I mean, it's a very rent based city. I myself rent, and so of course we're sort of subject to landlords, and that it becomes a whole different issue. And so the idea, part of the project is the idea of 311 is that it's a successful method of restitution, but more often than not, what my experience and others' experience is that you generally have to find a court date, and then you wait until the court date, and then something finally changes. But so part of the study is to try and understand how actual violations in indoor temperature, say in a cold season, translates to actual changes and registers of violations. Because not everyone is as enthusiastic to call 311 for whatever reason, because of many, many different reasons, social and worry about being identified for whatever reason. And that's fair enough. But often 311 calls aren't actually honored. And so part of this is to try and actually put some statistics on how successful 311 is, given that there are frequent violations. So I hope that kind of speaks to your point.
All right. I think my suggestion. Can I call you Robbie?
Please. Yeah. I'm Robbie.
Yeah, very good. I don't, if you haven't already linked up with the Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation, which is like the leading tenant organizing legal assistance program in the community for tenants, I would suggest you do so. And especially right
Okay.
now that we're in the heating season, there's
Yes.
there's a fairly good chance that they have already been approached by different tenant groups that may have heating issues, or certainly I would anticipate that they will be in the near future. So this may be a good conduit for you to link, to reach some of the tenant groups that have this issue.
What's that?
And so the Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation is located. It's on Wadsworth Avenue.
First.
And no, it's in the 170s.
Okay.
176.
Yeah, thank you. 176th Street. And I used to know the phone number by heart. 212-568-9166, but it may have changed. But the director, the executive director there is Maria Lizardo.
Okay.
And
that's very helpful.
She would be an excellent contact for you. I'm not sure who handles their. They have a tenant organizing department. They have a legal department, and she could put you in touch with those people there.
I really appreciate that. So is it just sort of, do they have an email? Are you in regular contact, or is it more I would visit? Or we
Yeah, I can send you her email.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. Well, maybe I'll do it tonight. But certainly I want to keep in touch with you, and the offer you made to come back and report to us is we would certainly take you up on that. I mean, you're
absolutely,
and you're right here in our backyard. You're right here at the Mailman School, and so really, whatever you do basically is of interest to us.
Yeah, I think that would be an honor to come back and reveal some results, maybe even in person. I would be very happy to do it in person with some of the group.
Right, you would certainly be welcome to come in person.
Okay, yeah.
All right, well, that's great. I think we have to release you so you can call the Housing and Human Services Committee, and I'm sure they'll give you a stronger welcome as we did.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and I wish you a good evening. Thank you all.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the time you just gave to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
All right, all right, take care.
Bye.
Can we put on the agenda for next month, dog food, and I'll come back. I'm not feeling well. I want to go home.
Well, we can, we can
For
always,
next month.
yeah, we can always discuss it. I'll put it under old business.
Okay, great. Thank you. Butter.
I'm sorry you're not feeling well. All right. All right, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and we're welcoming back Pauline Ferrante, the Borough Liaison for the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. But before she speaks, I have to give my report. So and really, Pauline, these are, of course, this is information that I've gleaned from your website, the Department of Health website, on the latest statistics on COVID-19. And what it shows right now is that for the for the 28-day period, which I think ended a couple of weeks ago. But these are the most up-to-date figures for hospitalization rates. Our four zip codes are somewhere in the middle range, where zip code 32 is at 20.6 hospitalizations per 100,000 people, which means it's at its rank is number 72 among 177 zip codes in New York City. Zip code 33. The hospitalization rate 18.8, which means is that the rank is number 78. Zip code 34, 16.6. The rank is 89. And the best zip code of all zip code 40, with hospitalization rate 13.6, and the rank was 110 out of the 177 zip codes. But in the month since we last met, since this committee last met, there have been 322 new cases of COVID in the 4 zip codes, and 7 more deaths. So as I say, month after month, the pandemic is still with us. It has not disappeared. And Pauline, I hope you're going to agree with me.
Hello. Yes, I agree with everything you say all the time, Steve.
Well, I don't know, because you've
I'm
been away
just
for 6
joking.
months. You may have lost. You may have
Well,
lost.
you're not right all the time. So
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm just
Okay.
joking. I'm just joking. No, you're absolutely right. People should remain vigilant. And of course, the new vaccine is out. So we are encouraging everyone to go ahead and take the newest iteration of the COVID vaccine, but also the RSV vaccine and the flu vaccine. And you can take all 3 at once if you choose to. With regards to the COVID vaccine, we are shifting away from government provided services, but most healthcare providers and pharmacies are getting priority. So they are getting those doses in their facilities, and they are available to those with and without insurance. So you can still go on to the New York City Health Department website to the vaccine finder, and they added a tab for insurance. So if that is a concern for you, we added that tab so you can find a place where they would administer the vaccine, even if you don't have health insurance. Also, the health department does partner with local organizations as long as they're licensed to provide vaccines. There are people who are licensed to administer vaccines, to provide free flu shots to organizations. And they would just have to show our team that they are licensed properly and can provide the proper transportation to vaccinate those in the community who are uninsured. So if you're interested or know of an organization that's interested in holding a flu clinic in the community, please have them email me. I'll be very happy to coordinate with them internally. With regards to your question about the construction or our building on 168th Street, I do have an update on that. So the scaffolding I heard came down for a few days and people are very excited, but unfortunately that was only because the MTA was doing some work around the entrance of the subway, and they needed us to remove some of that scaffolding so that they could fix or add an addition to the entryway. And then also it was time for us to put up new scaffolding anyway due to safety reasons. So, a few years ago, the Department of Buildings created a new legislation and law that scaffoldings weren't allowed to remain up after 5 years or longer than 5 years. They would have to come down and then be rebuilt due to safety reasons, because you don't want, scaffolding to also not be safe. So unfortunately, I know everyone was excited that it came down for a period of time, but then it went back up due to it being maintained properly. So let's see, the center, so our health center's proposal for the exterior facade restoration has been approved finally by DDC to move forward. And so the next phase is for the DDC's pre-design, where they will be hiring design consultants who will then create all of the restoration documents, plans, etc. for the project. And DDC is anticipating the beginning of this design period in February of 2024. So that's the latest update, but I will be sure to keep everyone informed about the progress as it continues. There weren't any other specific questions for me, but I'm happy to take any questions now. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, let me just say on the last point, if the design process is going to begin in February of next year, then most likely construction will be 2 years later, 2026.
I I don't
Right.
know. I don't know how long that
Right.
that design period would last.
Yeah, well, I assume as, with other, I deal with construction projects and with the Parks Department. And our usual time span is, design period is 1 year. For a building, it could be longer. And then we go through a procurement process where we put the projects out for bid, and that could take anywhere from 9 to 12 months as well. So usually, construction is 2 years after the start of design. So I would think this will probably work on the same time frame. But so that's a little disappointing because that means the scaffolding will probably be up now for maybe another 3 to 4 years. Let me ask you, with the vaccines being provided to pharmacies, is it your understanding that the local independent pharmacies are getting the vaccines? Because I'm not really seeing that. It looks like they're going to the chains, to Duane Reade, CVS, Rite Aid, but not necessarily to the independent pharmacies. Am I mistaken about that?
I'm not 100% sure. It could be because potentially the independent pharmacies, I think there's a lot of like back end paperwork that needs to be done. And sometimes they just don't have that capacity or they might not know about it. And so if a local pharmacy in your district has any questions, please have them email me and I can ask internally sort of how they can fill out that paperwork to make sure that they are part of the system where vaccine doses are distributed. I know that could potentially be an issue, especially for the very small, local based pharmacies that don't have, many chains and a larger corporate office to manage all of that. So if that may be the problem, you can always have them contact me and I'll be happy to see if we have someone internally who would be able to assist them with that.
All right, so maybe we should check on that. What I remember from the original rollout of the vaccine back in 2020 to 2021, something like that. I remember that one of the impediments for the small pharmacies was that this vaccine had to be kept almost frozen, or maybe in fact frozen, and had to be in particular conditions, which maybe not everybody would have access to that kind of equipment.
Right.
Is that the case with the new vaccine as well?
I don't know that for sure, but that could potentially also be an issue that that smaller pharmacies might have. They just don't have the necessary equipment to keep the vaccine at a safe temperature. I know that was sort of the issue in the beginning with vaccine clinics, right? Because we couldn't manage to have them kept at a safe temperature to be provided in a community setting. But that slowly we were able to overcome those obstacles as well. But I don't know. I guess each individual pharmacy might have their specific constraints. But if you have the opportunity to reach out to a pharmacy, or if they've come to you and said that they don't have any supply, please let me know and we can sort of figure out what the issue is with that pharmacy.
All right, so I'm going to pass your email address out as I go around to check with pharmacies, and I'm going to ask the other members of my committee to do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a local pharmacy that seems to be struggling to get vaccine doses, or they just don't have the capacity, maybe we could help them in some way. I'm just not 100% sure, if we could provide equipment, but just advice on how they might be able to work on the paperwork, or whether there might be assistance in getting the proper equipment. All of that, it doesn't hurt to ask. And so if you could provide them with my information, and if they want that assistance, I'm happy to look into it for them.
Well, this would be consistent with our efforts to try to increase the vaccination rates in our community. And one thing I should mention to you is that later in the meeting, hopefully we're going to be having a discussion with the Ryan Health people who have a mobile van, where they can go around the community giving out COVID and flu vaccines. I'll ask them about RSV as well. And we're hoping to collaborate with them in getting this mobile van located in different areas of Washington Heights and Inwood in the coming weeks, so that we can spread the message and get more people vaccinated.
Yes, definitely.
All right,
Yeah, we
OC
have,
has a question.
It's more like an old, old question that I tried to get an answer for a few months now about the, what was that? The relation between asthma rate and COVID, hospitalization in our district. And who was the nice guy that was, he came to our meeting?
Well, the Pauline's substitute was Kenneth Johnson.
Okay.
Okay,
Kenneth. Mhm.
and so this was about 3 months ago. I
Okay.
think. I asked this question and we didn't get an answer yet, so it
Okay.
would be nice to have an answer for next month.
Well,
Sure.
is there a way that you can figure out whether there is a connection between asthma and COVID rates?
I'm not sure, but I will definitely ask. I'll follow up with Kenneth in my
Okay.
office to see who he reached out to internally to try and get these answers. I don't know whether or not we'd be able to get it down to the zip code level, but we might be able to get some information. I'm not 100% sure whether or not we have the capacity to capture, the correlation at this point. It might still be new. I don't know for sure. So I can't promise anything, OC, but I will promise to try and find out.
Okay, because there is, data available for, like, for example, the South Bronx issue with air pollutants related to the highways around it. So it's by neighborhood. So I would think that COVID and you guys will have some sort of a data that is neighborhood specifically because we are right above Highway 95.
Mhm.
So that's a major concern. So
Right. Yeah, I
let
mean,
us
we
know.
do have asthma data, but I don't know whether or not we have asthma data as it relates to COVID hospitalizations. So I will absolutely ask about that.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? No? Did you have a question?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I actually got a vaccine today from a small,
Oh,
like Maria's pharmacy place.
very good.
And I asked
The,
her,
the COVID vaccine.
well, no, I got a flu vaccine
okay.
and then I asked her if she had COVID and she said she didn't buy them because she's not a believer.
Oh, God.
Okay, that's a whole other.
No, but
Yeah.
but the basic premise was I said like how does it work, etc.
Yeah.
And she said I buy enough flu vaccines that I think I can sell because the expiration date is short, and if I don't sell them, I lose the money, etc.
No.
And I said, did you have COVID? And she said, no, and I'm not vaccinated, blah blah blah. So, but she basically just said like you buy it just like any other, like you buy the Dove soap for stocking the store.
Well, no, I think it's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, this is just what
yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
good
go ahead.
information for us to know, just
Yeah.
that there are, some pharmacists who are still concerned about it, and maybe, more outreach on our end could be helpful also, in terms of our immunization group. So thank you so much for letting me know that, because potentially that's something that we can work on our end.
Yeah, I'd say to the extent that you might have the ability to do a mass mailing. I don't know if you have I would assume all these pharmacies have to register, if
Right.
not with the city health department, then with the state health department.
Right.
There should be a way in which you can do some kind of a mass email and let them know that they have an opportunity to obtain the vaccines.
Right, or at least to get more information, because it does sound
Yeah.
like some people may still be a little skeptical about it, and maybe just need some further information. But yeah, that's really helpful for us to know that there's still distrust and misinformation in the community and even among pharmacists, so we can potentially do a better job in outreach.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would recommend you do that, because I mean, if you can't, if people are hearing from the pharmacist,
Right,
that
exactly.
that they shouldn't trust the vaccine, then that's really a bad message. And that may explain why our community has got a lower vaccination rates for COVID than everywhere else in Manhattan and the city at large. Well, on the average, we're lower than the rest of the city and Manhattan.
But there is another problem here, much more in terrible problem. How is an unvaccinated pharmacist can distribute vaccines?
Well,
So wait a minute, but
Yeah.
it's a customer service, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about the health, it's health issues for those patients that coming in to get vaccines. So they are in close contact with a pharmacist that is not vaccinated.
Well, I didn't
Does
find
the
out
Department of Health
I didn't ask her.
have any specifics or stipulations? Oh, you must be vaccinated in order to provide vaccines? I mean, I would think that would make sense.
I found out because I asked her, not because she divulged the information.
I understand it. So
Yeah.
it's not even out there. So people are getting in, asking if their vaccine is available and having contact with a person that is not vaccinated. And those people, the patients, don't even know that this person is not vaccinated. I think it's something that Department of Health needs to address. Like, that's very serious.
Yeah, I can definitely look into that. I mean, I don't know if there are mandates currently in place where people who are administering vaccines need to be vaccinated. I'm not sure. So I will definitely take that back and find out from our immunization team.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you, Ozzy. Anyone else? No? Elvin, you always have questions.
No. This is very elaborate, very informative. So I don't have any questions. The
No
presentation was great.
Okay,
Yeah, no
okay,
questions today.
Okay, very good. All right, Pauline, thank you so much. How's the baby doing?
They're good.
They?
Yeah, well, I have my older son and then our younger
yeah,
son.
right.
We
Right,
adopted
okay.
a little boy. Do
Right.
you have a moment? Would you like to meet them? Hold on one second.
Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I always have time for that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, there's always time for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's so sweet. I love that.
I don't know what they're doing. They're probably fighting with
Oh,
each other.
They're refusing to join our meeting.
Yeah,
All right,
so
well,
please continue your meeting. I'll leave
Oh,
my
that's-
camera on in case they
all
want
right,
to.
that's understandable. I mean, I can, if I were their age, I'd probably have the same view. Well, thank you, Pauline. All right, so next on the agenda was to be Sandra Harris, representing the Columbia University Irving Medical Center. I got an email from her that she was sent the wrong panelist link. She was sent the link for the Housing Committee instead of our committee. So she is not going to be joining us, but she did send us a report. Let me see if I can find it.
And why couldn't she get another email with the correct link?
Well, I wish I could answer that question, but I can't.
Can we find out?
Well,
we email Harry then. But
I did send an email to Ebenezer asking him to send her the link, and he wrote back and said that he'd already sent it to her, and it turns out it was the wrong link.
I have a question. The links are
Well,
not
now you have
on
a
the
question.
website. No, I'm just curious. Like the Zoom links for the particular meetings, like on there on the.
Well, there are
To
separate links
register.
for the panelists
Oh,
as opposed to the.
We get those emails, so couldn't we forward it to her?
And we can always promote someone to a panelist. if
Yeah.
they're in
Oh, that's
the
right.
section.
Of course. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she should have done that.
Well-
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, we should have sent the right link.
Well, that too, but what is this? What was it, 17? What is it? Well, here's the update.
Yeah.
Says October though.
Yeah, I think we can have it. Y buscarlo para que quede vuelta.
What is it?
3822.
Is there a way to maybe call her and see if she can join us over the phone? As a one-time kind of deal? I mean,
Hold
I turned this one off. I'm sorry, there's
No, no,
call.
it's for them.
Yeah, wonderful study.
You feel it now? You feel it?
I'm okay.
Are you cold?
Carmen, are you feeling the heater? There's a couple of those, I don't know if there would be like.
That's the last thing, yeah. Screen goes down. Boost connectivity.
Yeah.
Do you wanna, oh, do you want Julio to present while you're looking for Sandra?
Yeah, is Julio on the line?
I don't,
I don't think we have.
no, Julio.
You don't have
is
Julio
not-
either?
Julio is not,
Well, great.
No.
Okay, Julio never confirmed.
well, but
We have Diane.
Okay, all right, so why don't we move on to Diane Ashley, representing Isabella Geriatric Center?
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
yes.
Yes.
Terrific, thank you. I'm Diane Ashley, and I'm Chief Marketing Communications Officer for MJHS in Isabella. We currently have 10 residents who are positive, COVID positive and on state mandated temporary isolation. As usual, largely asymptomatic. We started administering the new vaccine on October 17th and continue to hold multiple clinics on a weekly basis. We are up to 42% of residents who have received the new vaccine so far. And I don't think it's worth it to give you the old vaccination stats, but if you want them, I can, but
No, that's
and
okay.
I think that's about it. And we're, I think, 75% vaccinated residents on flu.
Okay, by the way, you're gonna get a call if you haven't already gotten it from a guy named Julio Rodriguez. Did you already get a call from him?
I already got the call, but I haven't, I've been like running. This is the first time I've actually gotten to like sit down and do something other than my normal office work. So I have to give him a call back. So thank you.
All right, he's with a group, oh God, I think it's called the Russian American, oh God, Russian American something, community center, something along those lines. And he's hoping that he can have a 20th anniversary concert for his group at Isabella. And I told him that you haven't been opening up the space for the general public, but he still wanted to talk to you about it.
Okay, thank you for the heads up about what the purpose of the call is, but I will definitely give him a call back. Thank you.
All righty.
I have,
Yeah, OC.
just, yes, you were talking about, you were talking about like data from previous vaccinations, and I mean previous vaccines for COVID vaccines. I mean, I just wonder, can one, maybe Pauline can answer that. I'm not sure. Can one that was, let's say, somebody that did not get vaccinated at all, could they jump to the latest vaccine, or they have to go, that has to go by sequence?
Oh, very good.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, because
That's a question
this is
for Paul.
why the rate of
Yeah,
vaccination,
yeah.
all the vaccination is
Yeah.
actually important.
Yes, but that's a good question for Pauline. Pauline, are you listening?
I'm listening. I'm trying to check on our website because I think we do have information on that. And let me just double check and I'll circle back.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. Can you just move ahead to the new vaccine and skip for having to take the previous ones? Yeah. All right, any questions for Diane? None. Okay. All right, thank you much. Thank you. And next on the agenda was to be a discussion with the community engagement coordinator for Ryan Health, to discuss the mobile van. He's in a class that apparently doesn't end until 9 o'clock. And I told him that there was a reasonable chance that our meeting would still be underway at 9 o'clock, but at this rate, it might not be. So let's talk about. He apparently says that that they get a better response on weekdays than on Saturdays. He can schedule the van any day but Sundays. And he when I asked him what's the best day, he says they get a better response on weekdays. So and I also told them that we would like to have the van at least 3 different locations around. I didn't go into detail with him as to what we had in mind, but what I've been thinking of is somewhere around this area, around 168th Street, somewhere up around 181st and St. Nicholas.
Dyckman 207.
Yeah, somewhere around Dyckman,
Yeah.
Dyckman and Broadway, maybe. Do people have other ideas as to where? There doesn't seem to be a limit on the number of times we can maybe make use of this van.
What were the 3 locations? Sorry.
What I'm thinking of at the moment, Broadway and 168th Street, St. Nicholas and 181st, and Broadway and Dyckman.
Steve, I have a question.
I would think 207 and Sherman would be a good one too.
Yeah, okay, that's
I was gonna say, like, should we correlate that with the lower rate of vaccination? Like maybe send the truck where there's more people that are not vaccinated?
Great idea.
We don't know where they're coming from.
But isn't it by zip code? Like, we could probably.
yeah, we have
Oh.
statistics by zip code, and unfortunately, I didn't have time to get them to record the latest numbers, but most of our zip codes are they're grouped together in the low 80s as to whether people have at least had 1 dose. Zip code 34 have been hanging below 80% for the longest time, and just 80% a couple of months back. And the other zip code 32 is at about 85. So they're all about the same. There isn't a great variance between the 4. But really, zip code 34 could use another one, because it is the one at the bottom of the scale. So why don't we also suggest Sherman
Sherman
and
and 207.
207? Yeah.
And if there are no limitations to the number of vans we can get, like, are you talking about for the year or for the month?
Well,
Whichever one.
yeah, I didn't go into that kind of detail, but
Okay, it's okay. So maybe, I mean, it will be nice to get one at least once a month, at least.
I was hoping more frequently, but
Oh.
at least in this first phase, because but yeah, let me I'll have to get a hold of him tomorrow, because
Okay,
it doesn't look as though we're going to be able to talk to him tonight.
okay,
Looks like Pauline may
So-
have an answer for you.
all right.
Pauline has got her hand up. Pauline, we are always happy to recognize you.
Thanks. So yes, on our website, it states that if you have never received a COVID-19 vaccine dose, get either 1 dose of the updated Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, or 2 doses 3 weeks apart of the updated Novavax vaccine. So it's okay if you haven't been vaccinated before. If you want to go ahead and get vaccinated now, you can do that with the updated vaccine. Thank you.
And that's so you can go ahead and get the Pfizer and the Moderna.
Or 1 dose of either.
Oh yeah,
the
or.
Right.
And in
And
this
then-
instance, you only need 1 Moderna. You don't need 2.
No, so you only need 1 of the Moderna or Pfizer, but the Novavax vaccine requires 2 doses 3 weeks apart.
So Nova, Nova, that's a new vaccine, is it? That we didn't have that
It came
before.
out like a few months after both
Oh.
Pfizer and Moderna came out,
Okay.
and I think they had like a longer trial period, and so people were sort of iffy about it. But it's just as effective. It's totally fine to use. It's just, I think it just depends on the individual and what they prefer to take. But for the Pfizer and for the Moderna, it's 1 dose. And then if you choose to take the Novavax, it's 2 doses, 3 weeks apart.
All right, so whereas in the past you had to take 2 Pfizer shots, now you only need to take the one.
Just the one updated one. Excuse
Right,
me.
yeah, right.
Because they're no longer producing the older versions. This newest one, much like the flu shot, they sort of anticipate the strains that are circulating in the community, and they create those specific vaccines to combat those particular strains. So, moving forward, I think the COVID-19 vaccine will be similar in that to the flu vaccine, where they anticipate what's out there and then create vaccines to combat those particular strains.
And we should anticipate having to take the COVID every year, just as we take the flu shot. Is that correct?
I anticipate that being the case.
All
But
right,
I'm
Oki.
not a medical expert, so please don't take what I say, as as the final truth. But yes, I anticipate this being part of our vaccination schedule for many years to come.
Okay, very good. But Pauline, you are our health expert.
I'm just the intermediary between the community and the experts, but I will
all right.
always do my best to get you the information.
Okay, well, you're a very good intermediary. OC.
So that actually complicates things.
Oh, it does?
It does, because if you need to get one of the other, either a Pfizer or Moderna first before you get the last updated vaccine, or the vans have those previous Pfizer or Moderna on the van, so they can schedule you whatever, 3 weeks or whatever it is after, for the updated vaccine. So it does complicate things.
Okay, so maybe I just misunderstood.
I think if you received previous doses, the schedule will work out that you'll be able to complete that schedule. They're just not producing like the older versions, the initial ones, only because there's this new one out. So it's, again, you can take this very latest version of the COVID vaccine and be protected for the new strain that's out there. So it's not necessary that you need to have the previous iterations of the vaccine. You can just get the new one and be protected.
Right. Yeah, if you were never vaccinated, you can now just jump ahead, skip the fact that you were supposed to get the vaccine 2 years ago, and just get the new one now.
I see.
That's
okay,
right.
That's
right.
Not what I
Because
understood,
we encourage, we encourage everyone to get their vaccine. So if they jumped on the train a little late, we're still happy to receive them. And they will be protected against the latest variations or variants of the virus.
Right.
So it's better than getting the old iterations, because now they have the ones that will target specifically the strains that are being transmitted in the community.
Yeah, so whatever was in the old one is now in the new one, plus some added stuff to take care of the new strains, I guess. Because I'm not an expert either. Okay. Thank you for that info.
And Steve, I agree with you. I think that if we can get this van out during the month of November and get it out, as many times as we can. This is the time that everyone needs to be vaccinated.
Right.
And certainly possibly in December.
Could they do flu and COVID at the same?
Yes. They do. They can do both COVID and flu.
Okay.
I don't know whether they also do the RSV, but I'll ask. So stay tuned. I'll get you information about my conversation with Mr. Diaby. Hopefully I'll be able to talk to him tomorrow. Okay. Next on the agenda is old business, and I didn't do anything to track down this information. So I'll have to send you whatever I find about the DEP service request, the street and sidewalk cleanliness ratings, and the recycling statistics. I didn't do my homework, and so I'm not fully prepared for today's meeting. Sorry. So is there any other old business? No.
Yes.
Yes?
No, I mean, I'm just bringing up again the textile recycling that,
Okay, yeah,
that,
okay, I
I
have to,
know.
I have to see if there's anything new on that.
Yes.
And I keep collecting old clothes. I gotta get rid of them myself.
Yeah, does anyone know of any locations? I have some bags I
Yes.
wanna get rid of it at home
This
too.
came up at a meeting 2 months ago, I think.
Right.
I know at least one.
I
of the
know, one of
green
them was on
markets that here.
136 and Broadway on
Yeah.
Saturdays, but
Yeah.
is there anything during the week?
Yes.
If you don't wanna-
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think that
That
should
one.
be the only one, but that,
Well,
I was trying to remember myself.
Well, the
so.
Columbia site is supposed to have it, no?
So the community fridge at 181 and Fort Washington has a thing on it that says where to put clothes.
Oh,
I'll just take a photo of it and send it to,
Yeah.
because I know it has a list, because it says don't put clothes here, bring clothes to these places.
Yeah.
got it.
But I just
Yeah.
don't remember. I think one of them is like the Dominican Women's Development Center, and there's a
Okay.
couple others, but I'll send a picture of that.
It's not 180% well.
Fort Washington at the church.
Yeah,
got it.
outside, on the street, outside the
I'll
church.
send a picture of that.
Another location for things that are not really wearable anymore is 4545 Independence Avenue in the Bronx, which is not too far from us. It's Riverdale.
And what is that, what is that place?
It's a farmer's market every
Oh,
Sunday.
Okay,
Oh, on
And every
Sundays.
Sunday they have textile collection.
So it's more like scraps or things like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Could be wearable as well.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
generally
anything, they'll take anything.
Right.
But, and some of the other green markets are still doing textile recycling. We need to get that information.
Yeah, we are left behind.
Yeah.
And you can always go to Housing Works.
Yeah.
They have 3 locations. The closest one to us is on 96th and Broadway. Yes,
Thank you
96
for that
and Broadway.
information.
I think it's on 96th, right?
No, it's on Broadway
It's on Broadway?
between 96th and 97th.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, on the west side of the street.
really?
Yes.
Okay. All right, very good.
Oh, I'm sorry. On the clothing, because I got an email about this recently, is another option is in the Bronx. At the Bronx Family Sanctuary at 1164 Wheeler Avenue, they're accepting clothing donations for migrants.
What's the address?
I will send it.
Yeah.
I will circulate that as well, because,
Okay.
I don't want to delay
Okay.
anything that's happening, but.
And-
Yeah.
And then, and send travel directions for Wheeler Avenue. Okay, next on the new business, two of our members, joined the Columbia University Irving Medical Center, Project Medical Education event, in a couple of weeks back, I believe,
On October 11th.
October 11th. So it's a date that it's ingrained in your memory. You'll never forget that date.
It was amazing.
It was, okay, so, who wants to go first?
I will just
Sure,
start,
sure.
and then Carmen and I are just
I'll
gonna.
just chip in.
Okay, fine. All right, very good.
It was amazing. We knew that we were going to arrive at around 7 and that we'd be there until 7 p.m. that night. I really wondered when I
I'll
headed
share
out, how
a
I was
sample
gonna
of the
possibly do
agenda
12
so you guys can
hours.
see.
But it was-
It really started at 7 a.m.?
Yes, it does.
Right
This is
around
the
there,
agenda here, so you guys can
7:30
see
with breakfast.
and get an idea of what that looks like.
We started, with an orientation. After the orientation, we went to the New York State Psychiatric Institution. And we don't have names. We're gonna get all the names of
Because we have a
everybody
lot
that
of
did
presentations.
presentation. She literally met everybody under God, but, we met with a woman who did this amazing presentation, and what she was talking about is a study that they're doing, and it's on depression and suicide in our kids. They have determined, clearly that stress levels have an impact, but they're also looking at air pollution, as an impact. And kids are wearing these air filters on their backpacks, and they're studying whether air pollution has an impact. And so it was fascinating. I found that very interesting.
While you
We
make
went
that
on.
point, I just wanted to
Okay.
add, just to your point, Osi, about the bus depots being here in Washington Heights. That's actually one of the factors. They think that in Washington Heights, there's a disproportionate rate of pollution, and some of that is attributed to having all these diesel buses going through our neighborhood at a higher rate than anyone else. So I know that we have been discussing this. When are we gonna try to finally put a resolution out there, put it to our capital budget or expense budget so that they can actually move these buses out? This is one of the reasons. one of the
I don't know that it's
contributing
the
factors.
buses, it's,
It's
I would-
Highway
I
95.
would think it's all the truck traffic going,
Yeah,
going through the Trans-Manhattan Expressway,
yeah.
we have one of the most heavily trafficked thoroughfares probably in the country, cutting right through our community.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is very heavy truck traffic.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. But it was interesting and it was fascinating. I would highly recommend that we get her name and we get her to come in. And
Yes,
talk to
yeah,
us.
please, yeah.
Then we went to public health and another really amazing presentation. What they're looking at is the rate of asthma in New York City, and it's pretty high. And if there's any
Highest in the
correlation,
country.
Is that right?
Yes, in the country.
Wow.
and
I wrote
whether
that
the-
down. I remember that specifically.
no, she was, yeah, it was fascinating, and whether there's any correlation to, and they're doing a study of this, they're going into apartments, looking at roach proteins.
Yeah.
Cockroach
Cockroach
proteins.
and
Right.
mouse allergens.
And so that was fascinating. Then we went
I'm
to,
sorry, and the study that they're doing, did they specify whether, they're doing this in Washington Heights and Inwood?
I don't
They
know
said
whether
northern,
they
they said
specific.
northern Manhattan.
All right, so
Um,
all right, that's kind of,
Yeah, I mean, it's something we could, I would recommend
Yes.
this become.
So we took all their contact information. What I hope, I just haven't gotten to this yet. What I do hope, to Jordy's point, is to reach out or share their information with you, Steve, so that we can have them come present. Because I
And-
actually asked them at the time, would you be willing to do these presentations? And they all said yes.
oh my God.
I mean, she's got like.
Gold star.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm glad you.
Like, let's just
Oh,
fill up the
oh,
calendar.
oh,
But Ross also
Oh,
said
this
he
is-
would send us.
Good, very good. Okay, very good. Oh, I'm so happy you went. Oh,
We then went, to the place where they are doing the brain studies.
did they slice the brain?
They
Yeah.
did not do
No.
that, but they showed us, they do have a brain bank. It's about 1,000 brains.
Oh, my God.
They come from Macedonia, right?
What?
Because the regulations here in the States, it's difficult to get those brains. And they were looking, the studies that they were doing, were looking at, correct me if I'm wrong, we're looking at brains of suicide victims against brains of people that just were in a car crash or
Right,
something like that, and looking at serotonin levels and whether, lower serotonin levels have an impact on depression and suicide. So that was fascinating. Then we went to the stem cell area and we looked at fish. And there's fish that have similar joint structures to us.
No, come on.
The only difference is, the only
Okay, okay,
difference is,
So this is
I'm
actually
telling
pretty
you,
great. Let me
it's
finish.
true.
All right.
This is pretty good.
The only difference is they regenerate
On their own.
on their own.
Zebrafish.
And it was fascinating. And so there is a real possibility, Steve, that all these little joint problems that we all have
That's
may not
scary.
be a problem in the future.
Yeah,
And of
the
course, we
stem cell,
want you to know like how far in the future we could,
Right.
hope for these. But again, that was fascinating. We saw these
So-
amazing little tiny fish. I agree
we-
with you. I couldn't see a joint in there that looked like mine, but
So should we be eating more fish?
No, it's not.
No,
It's
pretty
something-
much how it
this
works.
particular fish, Steve, you have to find
It's
this
a zebrafish.
particular fish.
Okay, well,
Then we also looked at, which I also found fascinating, is in the stem cell area, we no longer can look at embryonic cells because there's so much controversy behind, that. So now they're actually taking like arm
Yes,
tissue,
sure.
arm
Yeah.
cell tissue, and they're taking it back to the embryonic stages of cell development. And they actually showed me skin cells off an arm that has a
It's a
heartbeat.
heartbeat. Literally, we can see it under the microscope. It's like beating, just like a heart.
Yeah.
And it's just.
Amazing. I
like a
mean,
breath.
this is what, like why we were able to stick with this. Then we
All
had
day.
lunch, a really nice
Oh, that was
lunch.
all before lunch.
Yeah.
All before lunch.
Wow.
Then, and everyone should do this. Then Carmen and I were pitted against each other at the nursing center. We
that's-
were all.
that's not fair.
Yeah, I know, it really wasn't
was
fair
fun.
because she came in second and we won.
Uh,
But it was, like in the physical challenges where, you get these teams on TV and they have to do all these physical challenges and they have to hit a button. Well, we were given
we were all divided into teams and we were given an evaluator. The first thing the evaluator said to our team, that was our evaluator, said he hasn't lost in 3 years.
Wow.
And so like major competition, but I think he had something in that whole process that was going for him. But anyway, we were given these clue cards and we had to, it was in an envelope and we had to race in you know, like time. And we were told certain things about a particular, like in one case, it was a particular patient sitting in a wheelchair. And we had to, you know, with the information that was given to us, this person was in the emergency room of a hospital, and we had to determine what his diagnosis was. And then we had to race to another one, and
We learned how to remove PPE in the proper order.
Yes,
So we
yes.
learned that, like how you apply your gloves.
Oh,
It was, that was
And then we had to do CPR on a patient. We had to, I mean, it was, and she had her hand right on the buzzer. And we just buzzed just like seconds
literally like
before her.
seconds.
But it was
sounds a little-
amazing.
sounds a little like Family Feud.
It was amazing. It was fascinating. The types, the facility that nursing,
Oh, this new building, yeah.
yeah, it's just
Right.
phenomenal and pretty amazing. Then you can tell about the dental, because we went to the dental area. But before that, we got to go into the mobile units. You want to talk about?
So yeah, so we went, there's a mobile unit that I actually didn't know, apparently is stationed right out here on 166th Street between Broadway and St. Nicholas. Broadway, no, between St. Nicholas and Audubon. And it's housed there, and apparently the station actually partners with like schools to do free cleanings for students. They've also partnered with other organizations. I think they've gone to some senior centers in the past, so they're actually willing. I was just sharing, like, how does anyone like reach out or get these services into the community? And they literally said, if the community board would like to host something with us, we can partner with them and we can put locations. So right away, we're just like, how do we get that going? Because I think that'd be really wonderful. A lot of people can't afford to get, there's information. Here you go, you guys can see it. So yeah, I thought it was really wonderful because usually people don't have dental services with their insurance. They have to pay for it on the side. Sometimes not everything may be covered through Medicaid or Medicare, and it's just not that affordable. And a lot of people go without getting their teeth cleaned for a really long time.
Yeah, it's an amazing preventative resource.
Really
And,
wonderful.
you know, really would like to get it out to the schools and our area as much as we can.
Well, did they indicate that they're having any issues with getting it to the local school?
I thought that there was a sense that they wanted, you know,
To
they
get
could,
more.
they would
Yeah.
love to get out, to, you know, they do have a lot of outreach, but that if the community board could help,
Yeah.
they would be happy to go to other schools rather than.
Okay, it was my impression, when they first sort of unveiled this mobile van, I was at the event. And, I walked away with the understanding that, they already had like an active, schedule, that they were already sending it all over the place. But we should check.
This, I felt they could use some help. When we
Yeah.
went actually to the dental department.
Right.
Oh, we did
was
do that.
amazing.
Oh, we got to drill
I felt that
holes.
they felt that
We
they
got to
were.
do implants. We got to do
Yeah.
implants, big implants. Sorry.
They had you doing implants?
Not on a real person, of
Oh.
course. They had these jaws and we got to drill some holes in them. That was really fun, and implant some teeth. So that was really exciting.
And I felt that they were doing enough outreach there, that
Yeah.
they didn't need any assistance from us. But I did go with the mobile units. to get
All right, well,
some-
let's look into
some
it.
help,
They should
yeah.
be,
Yeah.
maybe we can see if we can collaborate that with the COVID vaccine, so people get for COVID there is a cleaning van, or the one go for cleaning van, there is a COVID vaccine going on here next door. Too much.
Yeah,
huh?
maybe.
In a nutshell, Jody, that was really wonderful. I love that you did a rundown of literally everything we did throughout the day.
Now-
You forgot our ceremony and our diploma.
Yeah, no, I just want you all to see.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Wow.
We actually got a diploma
Yeah,
that we made it through.
we sure did.
see it?
Sorry, what is this thing?
Jody.
It's-
Elvin wants to see.
Oh, you want to see it?
It's so nice.
It was, and they had cocktails and you know, it was really nicely done.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really felt that it was, I felt that I didn't realize the amount of research that's going on up there and how amazing.
Well, that's
it
the whole
is.
But
point.
not,
Yeah.
right, and not only
Yeah.
that, I was just gonna say, in a nutshell, for me, it was just wonderful to see all the resources as well that we have in our own backyard that sometimes we're
Right.
just not aware of.
Right, yeah.
And I think that that was very, very, very informative. On top of that, it's a really wonderful opportunity to network with people. You had people from the New York State Attorney General's office. You had people from
Oh.
the City Council Speaker's office. You had John Hopkins. You had AAMC. Like you literally had all these
Well,
different entities there.
well, you
and
had like 20 or 25 people with you, no?
25.
it's
25?
25, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was
Yeah, it's a
great.
good,
There's
great
also
experience.
one other thing that I, have to just look into because I couldn't find it. At the very beginning, they did in the orientation, they told us about all these trials that are going on
Right.
at the institution. And there's a website called Recruit Me. And I
Yes.
I've tried to pull it up and I can't. Is it recruitme.org?
I don't, I.
But
wrote it
anyway,
down,
we have
but
to,
should
we'll send
share
it out to Ross and find out
Yeah.
exactly what the.
Yeah,
'cause-
we used to have at one point fairly regular presentations from the people in charge of the clinical research trials. We should get them to come back. They haven't been here in quite a while.
Oh, I think we should that because
I
I
could
thought
reach
that
out
was a very
to-
interesting.
Yeah.
I can reach out to someone. I was at a doctor's office and I saw the Recruit Me thing and I looked into it and I found the website and I was in contact with a research coordinator person, so I can kind of like see if
That'd be
there's
great.
somebody and let
Okay.
Steve know, but for
And
sure.
I think you and I probably should just follow up with Ross too, just
Yes.
because he was going to send us all the information.
Now, let me just ask you, because when I did this thing a few years back, and when we visited the dental school, I was completely fascinated by the fact that they were talking about research they were doing at that time about getting teeth to regenerate.
no.
No, we didn't.
We didn't hear about none of that.
And I was like completely floored. I mean, you break a tooth and somehow they could regenerate it.
No, we didn't get
So I
that
don't,
presentation.
and I got to ask Ross, whatever happened to that research?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, you mentioned the environmental impact, no, the pollution, air pollution.
Yeah.
You talk about New York City is the highest, or our district has the highest rate of air pollution in
It was
urban
our-
environment?
No, on asthma, she
On
said.
Asthma.
On asthma.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I
our district
actually-
has
No,
the
the
highest,
city, she said.
because it's,
Uh,
for
we-
years it was the South Bronx.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The city.
There's,
environmental stuff.
yeah.
No, I think,
The
we're,
areas of the South, hold on. The areas of the South Bronx and Northern Manhattan have one of the highest death and disease rates from asthma in the country.
Yeah.
So South Bronx and Northern Manhattan,
yeah, well, and I think that includes,
both together.
I think that probably includes East Harlem and maybe parts of Harlem itself. And I gotta believe that all of that truck traffic is running through Manhattan and the Bronx
This is
and
what-
is contributing to that.
That's what it is,
recruitment.
no, that's the main source.
Yeah.
That's Recruit Me.
Yeah, and that's what I want. Show
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Is it?
Okay, well,
Glasses
It's
on
fine.
there.
all right, so this
that's
is,
it.
Yes.
for Heidi and Elvin and maybe Claudia, this is something that Columbia does once a year. And usually they, in the past, they've done it in August. I don't remember what the story was this year. They did it in October, but you guys may want to take advantage of this come next year. And
What is it?
it's an all day experience where the Columbia takes you through all
This is
sorts of
actually part
different
of the study. Read the first sentence.
schools and units within the medical center, showing you the work that they're doing there.
So it's like a funder tour, but for normal people.
Um,
That's kind of how like if you had like funders and you had
Oh,
to do like
well,
a
it's not for
site visit.
funders.
No, I know what
Yeah,
you're saying, but like
yeah.
for like normal people.
yeah, it's for normal. Well, it's for people
For
who are.
community stakeholders.
It's for
That's what they
yeah,
call it.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
they, that's what,
Yeah.
that's how they,
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
community leaders, active people in the community, so that
yeah.
so that you have a better insight of what is actually going on within the institution. It's more than just a hospital. It's a major research institution.
Did you see it?
Oh,
So it also says like the bus,
thank you.
depot.
All right, well, that's a very good report. Thank you.
And I do encourage everyone to attend, like Steve said, also because I told Ross, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to come next year. And he was like, actually, we give priority to those who've never been.
Yeah.
So I may be off the list.
Yeah, yeah.
I would have liked to go again,
Yeah.
but apparently not.
No.
So
No, listen, I would like to go again.
Yeah.
he said there's space, but it's just,
Yeah, all
you
right.
have no priority.
So what's it called? Like,
It's called-
Project Medical Education.
Yeah.
That's what I can.
Yeah, it's listed on it's listed on the agenda under new business.
Oh, okay.
All right, so Carmen, I didn't put your name on the agenda. I didn't know that you had gone. So that's,
You did
I
at the
went-
very last
I
minute.
did at the very last minute, because I had reached out originally, but then I couldn't go for work and I ended up getting the day off, so.
oh, great, all right.
Literally, Ross kept me on the waiting
Oh,
list,
right.
and he called me like 2 days before. He's like, "Can you still come?" I was like, "Yes,"
Oh, wonderful.
and then I showed up too.
All right, well, I'm glad you did. All right, so any other new business? I tell you, Ms. Robinson, are you here for any special purpose? No? Okay, you're just observing us? Okay, yeah.
How is it so far?
Before we adjourn,
We're not there yet. Do we have any announcements? Oh, Elvin.
No, I have a question.
Oh, good, a question, very good.
Just in general.
Okay.
Like, has this committee, just in general, is there any organization that provides, like, let's say, like, prevalent health issues by zip code, like anything? And for example, like, I'm sure there's other health concerns or things that are prevalent, like, let's say, like in the ER.
Right.
Have we ever like explored some sort of like reporting or statistics? And maybe have someone come in and like, hey, like, you know, in the last month, these are like the top 3 causes of death in, you know, your area, or, you know, causes of, you know, critical illness or anything like that.
Well, I tell you, the health department, I think we've now lost Pauline. The health department has been doing community health profiles that gives a lot of that information. And they seem to update it maybe every 3 years, and I think it's overdue for an update. But if you go to the health department website, you could probably locate the most recent community health profile for Washington Heights and Inwood, and it has a lot of very good information. In fact, I should remember to try to send it around so people should at least see what it says. And I remember, I think one year we were shocked to see that the number of people dying from was it Alzheimer's? There was something that stood out in Washington Heights and Inwood. It was like the number 3 cause of death, which we were pretty surprised about. But there's a lot of good information in that report. I'll see if I can find it, but you should look for it too. Okay, so the next meeting is Thursday, December the 7th. Kit Kennedy, who is the managing director for climate and clean energy programs at the Natural Resources Defense Council, has agreed to speak to us. So she'll be our main speaker on that date. And I'm still trying to get EMS.
trauma center.
Yeah, but also want, EMS used to come to us and give us an annual report about how they're doing on response times in our community. And so I may schedule them for January so that we can get the report for 2023.
Okay. One other thing, I don't know if it's like kind of a quasi committee in terms of local law 97. Could we get somebody from DOB? I know it's not us, but to talk to us specifically about compliance, local law 97 compliance in our district.
Well, I think at this point,
We're just starting, but
what's happening with this council legislation to
extend
to
it.
extend the time period?
I don't know where it stands.
Yeah, because that's going to affect compliance.
Right, but maybe
Yeah.
whoever that is coming to present can tell us where it stands or what's the plan or what would be because they came up with some changes to the plan. So that would be, and
We may have to do it jointly with the other committee.
because it's gonna be,
Yeah. So, but let me see what I can find out.
okay.
All right, very good. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn from Ms. Guzman. There are no seconds. Nobody is second. Yeah, this is,
I second that, so I
this
go to
is-
sleep on time.
this is not apparently not a popular motion. People want to continue meeting. And we're still waiting for the newborn baby and the 4-year-old to show up. All right, we're calling this meeting,
I thought somebody was writing in the chat. Does anyone?
we haven't been looking at the chat?
There was a question earlier from Anna Rodriguez about, I can go back to this, Pauline actually followed up on it.
Oh, good.
But Anna, to recognize Anna's question was just what is being done to ensure the medical shortage is addressed in our community as far as local pharmacies not having essential medications in underprivileged parts of the community. And Anna says many of our older members are suffering from the shortage and it's not being addressed. And Pauline wrote back that Pauline's going to look into it and report back at the next meeting.
All right.
So Anna was just writing in the chat that she appreciates the checking on the status of the shortage because it means a lot for the quality of life of many seniors.
Yeah, well, that's an important question.
Yeah, very good question.
What about the other 5 chatters?
Half of them are me
Oh.
asking people for their last names.
Oh, I see.
And yeah, just a couple things at the beginning.
Okay.
I saw Pauline was like, I gotta go.
Yes, that was the other one.
Oh, okay, very good. All right, so at 8:38, we're going to adjourn this meeting and we'll reconvene in a month. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Jacob, for taking minutes. And Elvin, thank you for all your questions.
I tried.
And then,
I'll bring more next time.
yeah, well,
And we'll follow up with you, Carmen and I will. when we-
very good.